As educators across the country attempt to recreate the classroom experience virtually, many students won't get the in-person mentoring so many of our children need, and this may of course go on much longer than anyone could have ever imagined. Principal, author, and life coach Sean Larry Stevens joining us via Skype Live with some perspective. Hey there.
Hey, how's it going?
Glad to see you. First, how are you and other educators that you know, because you are a principal, correct? Still?
Yes.
Yes, I thought so. Okay. So I just want to make sure. So how are you and other educators, especially in your school and other educators you know, dealing with what is becoming a new normal?
Yeah, well, first, the first thing that we need to think about is like how our students are actually learning. Like, we obviously want our kids to be inside of classrooms. We want teachers to be standing in front of them, but we can't do that right now. But we also know that they are applying to colleges. I'm a principal of a high school, and so the first thing that I'm thinking about are ACT and GPA, and the things that are going to set our students up for a positive trajectory in their life. And so it's important right now that we really figure out what is the most rigorous curriculum that we can put in front of them, how we're giving them access. One of the first things that my school did was make sure that we send computers home, because we knew that this would be an equity issue. And for Black and brown students in my school, they don't have access to internet easily. They don't have access to computers easily. And so that was the first thing that we needed to do. And then think about all the other amenities that schools provide, like food and social emotional development in terms of character development. And so our school is open for parents and community members to come in and get food on a daily basis. That's another thing that we are providing access for them for. We are constantly in communication with the task force that we put in place on a daily basis to give updates and to provide emotional support. And so those are some of the first things that we decided that we needed to put in place.
And one of the things, are schools prepared for this? Are teachers prepared for this? Are school districts prepared? And why, if they're not, why aren't we more prepared for a distance learning?
Yeah, well, one, like I said before, it's an equity issue. In a lot of our communities, we just don't have. And I think some of the inequities that exist in America are really being exposed during this time. We were not prepared for anything like this. Do I run a school that absolutely believes in using technology on a daily basis, preparing our kids for the future? 1,000%. But the reality is that we don't have a lot of the resources in many of our schools to even give the kids access to this sort of learning environment. And so we were not prepared. When you think about the affluent neighborhoods that are nearby, they have one-to-one computers, and so this is a part of their everyday. So shutting down for those guys was a little bit easier, and not as difficult. But for us, it posed a huge problem. The country, we were not prepared for this holistically. We did not make the right choices, and I know that I don't want to get too much into the politics of it all, but the reality is that this hit us, and we should have been way more prepared, especially as educators. And now we're sort of scrambling. I'm very proud of my team. I'm very proud of the decisions that our organization has made. And the first thing that we're thinking of is the emotional stability, the academic stability of our students, and the entire community, and how we're giving them the supports that they need to sustain in a very, very difficult time, whether that's financially, academically, where we have so many people who are going to delivering food to people's houses, et cetera. The basic needs need to be met first, and that's our biggest approach, and then we can worry about the academics.
Well, I've seen some video of you interacting with your students, and you seem like you really enjoy that face-to-face interaction. That is gone right now. How are you and other educators dealing with that? Because I know for so many students, especially Black and brown students, going to school is like going to a different world. It's a place where you can read and be safe. Those things are over, at least for this semester. How are you all dealing with this as educators emotionally? And how are you trying to kind of keep that relationship built with your students?
Yeah, so one of the grounding beliefs of the approach that I'm taking for however many weeks or months that we're going to be in this is caring connections. And that's one of the things I rolled out to my leadership team, to my 114 staff members, is that we need to be emotional support for everybody, including ourselves. And so from the adult lens, one of the things that we're doing is a week of remote virtual support, right? And so whether that looks like motivational Mondays and us sending videos, we do yoga on a daily basis virtually. We have staff members who are signing up. I even led a cooking class on a Wednesday night for staff where a bunch of them just came in and we just cooked together and conversed. And so we're trying to replicate what we would normally do in person online. And so for teachers, it's great. We're doing Thankful Thursdays. We're doing Fun Fridays. One of my teachers did an open mic on Friday. And so at the teacher lens, we're trying to make sure, because adults are, obviously kids are going through this, but adults are too, who are living alone, who have kids. We're trying to figure out what does flexibility and accountability look like at the same time. And so those are some of the things that we've done immediately. And then for kids, we're doing the exact same thing. 100% of our kids get a communication on a weekly basis. They are in groups, they are in office hours, they are doing virtual stuff together. And so we're really replicating what would happen in school. They're doing gym class, physical education, exercises together and learning Spanish. And so everything's so interactive. We're using platforms like Zoom and like WebEx to make sure that we create that learning environment, both at a macro level, and a micro level.
How are parents dealing with this? Because I saw a story here on my local news that parents are just really kind of frustrated and don't know what to do with those lessons that are being put upon them to be the teacher now. How are you speaking to parents and kind of motivating them to be the educator and the parent now?
Yeah. Well, one, we are the first line of defense for all of our parents. We are over communicating, and that's the most important thing that we can do right now. We are creating tutorials for our parents, and we're sending home videos to make sure that they first know how to access the material, and then our students. I'm lucky enough to be in a high school, and so I recognize that our students are a little bit more self-sufficient. They're able to go on and do the things that they need to do in terms of technology. But for our parents, we make sure that we are sending home newsletters, we're sending home how-tos, we're making sure that they know step by step what it is that they need to do. In terms of the balance, one of the things that we've been thinking about is how much are we requiring of our teachers who we know are also parents? And from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., they have to learn the new material. They have to sit with their children and do that. And so one of the components of our remote learning plan is flexibility, making sure that teachers have the autonomy to work when they work best, to create their own schedule on when they want their kids to come in live or when they want to do small group instruction or remediation. And so I think that's one of the first things where we put in front of our teachers and we say, do what you need to do. The parent teachers, we know our heart goes out to you guys. I am not a parent just yet, but that's the first thing that comes to mind is how are we making sure that they know just as much as our kids know. And so we are using it as a multi-generational opportunity to enhance education across across all generations.
Sean Larry Stevens, thank you so much for joining us here on Black News Channel and spending a little of your weekend with us. I definitely would love to check back in with you at the end of the school year and see how things shaped up.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
All right. Thanks so much.